Hey, I want to welcome everybody back to another episode of Grace, Grit, and Grounds. This is our Espresso Shot of the Week, and we're going to have a special guest. But in the meantime, I encourage you, if you have a cup of coffee, go ahead and get it. Let's have a seat and let's have a conversation. All right, today with me, I have Nico Miller.
Hey, Al,
He
how are you
is,
doing?
I'm excited to see you. I've been thinking about having you on the podcast long before last week when
Mhm.
your self-acknowledged best friend, Trevor, which he made it a point to say that. Like, obviously, being your best friend
Yeah.
is a source of pride for him, and he had to let me know that he was
Mhm.
your best friend.
Yeah.
So if you have another best friend, you probably shouldn't reveal that on air. Right?
No, Trevor's really spot on that one.
Okay. I'm really excited about having you here. I'm just going to start off by introducing you a little bit. You have been in this area. You were born and raised here in
Mhm.
Northern Kentucky. So
Yep.
this is the second person on my podcast that was born and raised in Northern Kentucky. So it's kind of exciting because, well, Northern Kentucky is a different animal than regular Kentucky, right?
Yep.
How would you describe Northern Kentucky?
Well, it's kind of right there on the border of Cincinnati and Kentucky, so you got some of the people that lived in Cincinnati coming over here because it's a lot nicer.
Like interlopers that want,
The interlopers that want to invade our nice, beautiful
Yeah,
towns that we
yeah.
have over here, but it's a lot of things happen around here. It's very cool to see.
I like it because it's a blend of country, rural existence here in Northern Kentucky, but then you
Mhm.
have the big city
Yeah.
that's just across the river where you have professional baseball, professional hockey, professional soccer,
Yep.
professional football.
Yep.
You've got plays
Yep.
and other culture events, and then you have somewhere in the middle of that Geta Fest.
Yeah.
And we've talked about Geta Fest with Trevor.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Geta is really one of my favorite breakfast foods.
I'm glad somebody likes it.
Unfortunately, some of the people in my household don't like it, so we rarely have it on occasion. But when we
Yeah.
do, it's always a good treat.
I know when I first asked you on this, you're like, well, why do you want to have me on the podcast? No.
Mm.
What was going through your mind when I said, "Hey, I want you on the podcast"? What were you thinking?
I was like, why? Why would Al want to interview me for this podcast? I know I have a good testimony story and family and everything else, but it's like there are so many other people in the church that Al could come and interview, but he picked me to do it. So
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Why not give it a shot? Try something new, and we'll go from there.
That's the best way to do it, right? So one of the things I thought was really unique about you, and so just to give you some context, um, and for those of you that are listening, Nico is a twin. He's not an identical twin. He's a fraternal twin.
Hmm.
And just so you'll know some of my background, my mother was an identical twin.
Okay.
And so when we were having children, ages and eons ago, that was something I thought about. And I thought, because it runs in the family,
Mhm.
although it typically follows the female bloodline, but my mother only had boys.
Yeah.
We adopted my sister. And so I've always found that to be fascinating growing up. And I remember a time when my mother, who lived in Jacksonville with us, obviously, and my mother's sister, who was a special ed teacher, and she lived in Japan
Mhm.
as a Department of Defense teacher overseas. And they hadn't seen each other in like 5 or 6, 7 years. And this is back in the middle '80s. There is no internet.
Yeah.
There is no way to communicate other than snail mail and the incredibly expensive long distance phone lines, which we just didn't do. And they came back from overseas for a summer vacation, and we went to go visit them for the first time in years. And it was weird because I walked into the room and my aunt looked almost exactly like my mother. Same hairstyle, same makeup color choices, even similar dress. It wasn't the same shirts,
Right.
but it was the same style. And then a little later in our trip, I was upstairs getting up in the morning, and I was coming downstairs in this back stairway, and I passed my mother who was going up, and I said, "Good morning, Mom." And she looked at me funny, and then I went down, and I didn't think anything of it. Went down into the kitchen, and there's my mother again. And she turns around, and she's cooking breakfast, and I'm like,
Right.
and come to
Right.
find out I passed my aunt and
Right.
not my mother, but I could not tell them apart,
Mhm.
and it was weird. Yeah, it sort of started a lifelong fascination with twins,
Twins. Yeah.
and it actually is kind of biblical because, there was at least 2 sets of twins that we're pretty sure of, maybe 3
Mhm.
in the apostles. Obviously, Thomas, doubting Thomas,
Okay.
Didymus, he was a twin.
Yeah.
But most theologians and the people, and I personally agree with this, was that James and John were probably twins.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
No, that's the first
The
time I've
sons of
heard
thunder.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jewish people of all the people in the ancient world, they were one of the few that actually looked at twins as being a good thing.
Mhm.
Many of the cultures looked at them as half souls or demons or in a very negative light. Like
Wow.
you would look at a left-handed. And but the Jews, no, it was like doubly blessed, like because they're all about having kids,
Mhm.
and the more the merrier. And so if you got like a double,
Double
yeah,
trouble.
they're all into that. So, anyways, that's just a little bit from my history.
Yeah.
So I guess tell me, you and your brother took different paths. You started workforce. He went
Workforce,
to
yeah,
college.
yeah.
Talk about that.
So, yeah, twin brother. Right now, he's doing what God's called him to do and working overseas, and so it's really interesting to have a twin brother, even though, like you said, we don't look alike, but we do, and we are completely different personalities, different hobbies, different interests, and all this
Yeah,
other stuff, but growing up together, we really, really, like, argued with each other, but it was like a playful argue, so now that he's kind of overseas, I kinda missed that a little bit.
yeah,
But, just the love that we have for each other, and even though now he's overseas, it's been kinda hard, but it'll
yeah.
be fun to see him again and just to cherish the time we have.
I imagine it's got to be really hard because obviously you've got a womb mate
Yeah,
that is your automatic best friend,
yeah,
and you guys were very close
yeah.
friends. And like even though he was more of an academic, you were more of a hands-on kind of guy.
Yeah, hands-on sports. His
Yeah,
his was more just books and,
right,
just the smart stuff,
right,
and
right.
Pokemon, of course.
That is so cool. My mother, I told you, being identical, one of the stories she often told was she was very good in the sciences, math, and history and things like that. And her twin sister was more of an Englishy kind of
Yeah.
person, and they used to dress alike. And my mother hardly ever went to her English class, and so her sister would do double duty, and she would do double duty.
Okay.
And so they always and the teachers never knew,
Wow.
but I don't know if they even cared.
Yeah, I don't
So
think we can get away with that with
no,
me
you
and
guys don't
him
look anything
because people
alike.
can really well, you can tell between you can always tell by one of my ears because it sticks out a little bit farther than the other.
See, I never noticed that.
So my mom always figures that out when she
Yeah,
was trying to tell me and him apart.
that's
But
funny. Anyway, so that's really exciting. So you're not just a twin. I was joking earlier before the episode started that you're a child of two worlds, and so you're a twinned child of two worlds because your mother
yeah.
is full-blooded, full-on, all-day, everyday Argentinian,
Yeah.
and your father is full-on, all-day Kentuckian.
Yeah.
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 So, and they met overseas. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my dad was stationed in the Marines. He had just got done with his station in Djibouti, and then he got assigned to Argentina. And while my dad had embassy duty down there, so he was in charge of the embassy. While he was working there, he was talking to one of his coworkers that were working there at the time, and he was like asking who that woman was across the room. She was new at the embassy, started working there. Mom and dad met sometime during that time there, and
Yeah.
he hit it off and
Fell in love
fell
and
in love and
got
moved to the
married
States,
and
and now
yeah.
here I am.
Yeah, your dad has a lot of neat stories. I'm probably have him on one of these days. And one of his stories was before you were born, when you were
Mhm.
still growing with your womb mate.
Yeah.
He was in the process of working a full-time job, trying to be a husband of a wife who is doubly pregnant, and building from scratch by himself with a little bit of help from his friends
Yeah.
a house for you guys to live in, and the goal was to try to get it finished before the baby pops, and, did he make it? Was he able to do that?
Um, no, not really. He was still trying to he was working hard on it, but we came a little bit earlier, so we had to spend some time at grandma's. We had to spend some time in a, trailer
Yeah,
for a little bit in another house, but, eventually it did get finished, and
that's your only house. You've never lived any other house, have you?
I've been there my whole life, yes.
That's gonna be really weird when you actually do move out.
It will be definitely weird, but hopefully I can kind of Lord willing, that I could stay in the area and not be too
Yeah,
far away.
that's kinda cool. Now you're one of the leaders in our college and career ministry, and
Yeah.
you obviously represent the career side of the
Yeah.
college and career.
Yeah.
So, first question is, what was it like, and what was your decision process when you chose to go right into the professional world rather than
Mhm.
go to college route like your dad did?
So I'm not very big into school, and I have a little bit of an ADHD, so I can't really sit in a seat or a classroom for too long. Because if I do, then I start getting antsy. And yeah, so I went right out of school. Messed around with a couple jobs that I thought would be interesting. Then one didn't work out, the other one did, which is where I'm at right now for
Okay.
6 years now.
6 years.
6
Wow.
years now,
Wow.
so I'm enjoying it so far, and
Yeah.
I believe this is where God's calling me to be at. I'm
Yeah.
really excited about what the next steps are gonna be.
So 2 things about that. We're gonna get back to the God calling you there. The other thing is, like, you're now working in the same company your dad works.
Mhm.
You guys are both, can I say you're locksmiths?
Yeah.
You're not, nobody's gonna hunt you down and,
No, I don't think
okay.
so.
So, but you're a locksmith, and that's a trade. It's a
Yeah,
good trade,
yeah.
obviously. It's your dad's been that ever since he got out of the Marine Corps. What was it like following in his footsteps a little bit? Was it, I don't know, was there any pressure from him? I mean, like, what's it been like?
Well, it's kinda been interesting, to be honest with you, because when I was younger, my dad we all elementary school, he would bring his tools and stuff and be like a job fair there for the little kids to look at, and now I never really thought about being a locksmith. My whole high school career, I never really thought about working in the same place my dad was, because I always wanted to be a park ranger. But the only problem is that I don't like being in a classroom for too
Right,
long, so that
right.
kinda ruled that out. Actually, I was like my dad's like, "Why don't you come to work with me for a week and see what you think?"
Hmm,
So I did. I went through work for the week. It was actually a cool experience, to be honest with you,
yeah,
because I learned all the aspects of how a lock works, how a door works, how things work, how to make a key, all
yeah.
this other stuff, to where I'm now installing doors and frames of commercial buildings, which is really cool to see because you can see what's kind of been shoved in behind the frame that the
Yeah,
last person that replaced it with is. Because sometimes we actually found, like, a one time we found, like, an old Kings Island ticket
yeah.
with the person's picture still on there.
Oh, wow.
Which eventually one of our coworkers actually found the, son of the original owner, so he
Yeah,
was able to, like, return that key card to
that is
them,
so cool.
so
So Kings Island, for those that are don't know, if you don't wanna Google it, is it's a theme
amusement
park,
park.
amusement park that's,
Amusement park also has a water park
yeah, it's
up
just
there.
across the river in Ohio.
Yeah,
It's not that far away,
yeah.
and a lot of people around here go there. So, yeah, that's exciting, man.
Mhm,
It's neat to be able to do that, and to follow your father in that career. I know he's proud of both of his sons, but as a father of
mhm,
3 boys, none of them have followed in my footsteps, which I'm actually happy about. But I'm also kinda sad, 'cause, I kind of wouldn't mind my one of my sons
mhm.
taking up the family business, although the reality is that being a pastor is a tough business, and I
Yeah,
wouldn't wish this on anybody that's not being called.
right.
So, but that comes back to our other thing where you said called. A lot of times we think of calling as like it's a ministry thing. It's like only pastors and missionaries, and they're the ones that are called. But you said you feel like God's called you not only to be a locksmith,
Mhm,
but to be a locksmith in the company you're in.
yeah.
So talk about that.
Yeah, so God's calling me to be where I'm at because it's kind of I've been praying about it a lot lately, and I think he's got opportunities for me to talk to some of my coworkers that are, like, kind of distance themselves from Jesus, so I can kind of give them the opportunity to talk to them, kinda love on them, and just show God's love through that he's shown me that I can try to show them.
We were talking today, and we had a staff meeting today, and we were discussing opportunities for evangelism and outreach. And we were talking about who we want to try to draw into some of these ministries. And the reality is that a new believer is far more able to connect because they still have a ton of friends and connections that are not in the Christian world. But the longer you are a Christian,
Mhm,
if you don't have a job outside this building, and you have less and less lost or unbelieving people, so
right.
you just don't have as many connection points. It's one of the challenges I have. As soon as people find out that I'm a preacher, they stop cursing, they stop smoking, they stop
Mhm,
drinking, and they pretend to be perfect.
right.
And I'm like, you don't need to do all that.
No,
Just be human and let's have a conversation because
right.
I don't want you to change because I'm in the room because I'm just a dude.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd rather see Jesus change you from the inside out. So anyway, so you've done other things besides just be a locksmith, right? I know it's not just. It's a career, and it's a great career. It's not one I would have ever thought
It's
of.
a very interesting career, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So it's not. So I just thought it would be like just little movies and stuff where they just pickpocket a
Yeah.
door open and everything else, but it's a lot more complicated than that.
The only times I've ever needed a locksmith, honestly, is when I've locked my keys in the car.
Mhm.
And the last few times when I was in Alaska, the local cab company was empowered, at least in the state or in that city, where they could come and they had the little tool they could
Yeah.
pop your lock. And you just call the cab company. You don't even call the insurance company. You just call the cab
Cab
company.
company, yep.
$20, they come, they fix it. So you don't need a locksmith. But the reality is like you guys do so much more. One of your coworkers who used to be our youth director here, he he's become
Mhm.
one of the top safe
Yeah.
crackers,
Yeah.
and I didn't even think about that. But from gun safes to your dad was telling me like
Bank vaults and stuff like
old
that.
bank
Yeah.
vaults that people have
Yeah.
forgotten the combos to,
We
and
do a lot of work at the Federal Reserve on top of that in
oh
downtown,
wow,
so
can you talk
that's
about that? Is that like super
no,
secret?
we don't need to talk about too
Okay,
much
yeah,
of
we
it,
don't want to
so,
get.
yeah.
That's just neat. Our your coworker, our friend, he was telling me that some of these old safes have like planes of glass in the
Mhm.
door, and if you pierce it at the wrong angle, it shatters, and
Yep.
then it's just locked forever.
Yep.
And you're breaking out the welding torch and hopefully getting it off,
Well,
and maybe cutting into the backside of it, but it's ruined, right?
Mhm.
So that must be really. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be a safe tech when I started
Yeah,
doing locksmithing, but I've come to realize it takes a lot of patience
yeah,
and a lot of knowledge to know where you're doing and where you're drilling at to get it open, and it's
yeah.
like, I think I'm good right where I'm doing right now.
So it's kind of interesting, like, you actually can go into niches within the locksmithing world,
Mhm.
and your area has been in the installation of new doors, frames, things like that.
Yeah.
That's kinda cool.
Yeah, it is. I enjoy
Yeah,
messing with it, especially when I have to mess with fragile
yeah,
glass.
yeah,
That makes the experience even more fun because now I have to be extra, extra
yeah,
careful.
yeah. That's exciting. So, some of the other things you do ministry-wise is before you came and was part of our ministry here, you were, in a small country church
Mhm.
distance away,
Just down by Grand Slick,
right, and what's the name of that church?
Fairlane Baptist Church.
Fair Lane Baptist Church down the road. So if you live in the Grants Lake area of Campbell County of Northern Kentucky and you're looking for a nice country church, Fair
Fairlane
Lane
Baptist
Baptist, yeah.
Church, yep.
And so they get good preaching, good singing, good people that love Jesus, right?
Mhm.
And you were leading a ministry there. Can you tell
Yep.
me a little bit about that ministry?
So, a long time ago when my dad still went to this church, Fairlane, he started an archery ministry down there. And I actually, funny enough, I actually went through the archery system.
Mhm.
So I went through all the whole club until I wasn't able to anymore.
'Cause you aged out. You became an
Yes.
adult.
Yes, I did become an
Yeah.
adult. But yeah, it was a good experience learning how to shoot a bow a little bit better. But no, it's makes me a little emotional talking about archery because it's archery, which is we call it His Pins Archery, which is a is owned by Shade Tree Ministries. But yeah, so once my parents left, the archery ministry kind of stopped for a little bit, and they were like, one of the deacons there is like, "Why don't you, you want to? We're gonna don't know what we're gonna do with the archery equipment, so we're thinking about selling it. So what do you
Huh.
think about doing it? You know?" And I'm like, "I don't know. You know." Harold comes, who's the
The director, yeah.
director of Shade Tree Ministry, comes over and says, "Why don't you want to start an archery club down there?" I said, "I don't know. I don't know if I'm right leader or whatever."
Yeah.
And it's like, he's like, "Okay, come on, I'll help you. Let's get it started up." So we started doing it the first couple weeks, and then after that, I kind of just took
It's supported
control
it.
of it, and we did it for a couple years, and then I came here.
Yeah. I know it was hard. Whenever you leave a ministry, and you obviously knew God was calling you to leave, and it's a
Mm,
small church,
yeah.
and you had your own reasons to go. You don't need to go into that, but what was going through your mind and your heart and your soul? I know it took you a little while to make that
Mm,
decision, but what was going through when you decided to shift to a different church?
So yeah, it was a real struggle because I grew up in that church. Almost everybody there's family to me. So there was that aspect of it, but I was also concerned about what would happen to the archery ministry.
Yeah,
Will somebody kind of continue it after the fact when I'm no longer going to be leading the ministry, no
right.
longer going to be a member of the church? So I prayed about that a whole lot, but God's like telling me just to go do it. I'll
Yeah.
handle it. I'll take care of the
Mhm.
rest. And luckily, lately, I've heard that they're getting some of the people instructed to be certified to start a club soon.
Okay.
Back
Okay.
up down there. So I'm really happy and
Yeah.
praising God for that.
I really like the His Pins archery program because Now, again, I've been in ministry for almost 30 years, and in almost every church I've been in, we've had children's ministries, obviously, but we've been focused on Awana, which is a great program. It's been around for like 80 years. It's very recognizable for people that are in the church world, but um, it takes a lot of leaders to run that. It's very leader intensive, and it's always been a challenge to get enough volunteers as a pastor to make that happen. But when I first came here and I got exposed to the His Pins archery, the first thing I noticed is that you're having 40, 50, 60 kids show up for this ministry, and you're running it with 2 or 3
Mm,
volunteers. And I was just amazed. And you're doing something that's really cool. You're
yeah.
shooting arrows at targets in the
Yeah,
sanctuary,
yeah.
so I'm like, man, that is just a neat, neat program. I've really enjoyed that. So let's go back to some things that we talked about a minute ago about being half Argentinian.
Mm.
I kind of want to explore that. We jumped over it. That's okay.
Yeah,
But what's it been like having that part of you? I mean, it's there. You speak a little Spanish
I do.
and your mother speaks a lot of Spanish,
Yeah.
but it's Argentinian Spanish,
Mhm.
so there's a
Yeah,
variation.
it's, we in Argentina, they call it castellano, which is a
Okay.
little bit different. It's kind of like Spain's Spanish, but there's
Yeah.
just a little bit different, more at different verb. They use different verbs and different
Yeah.
phrases and all that stuff. But just it's interesting because it not only teaches me a different language that I can use,
Mm.
but it also is like on the landscape that down there. Having family down there has been great because I could go and spend some time there and explore the country a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because if once you get outside the city to different parts of the countryside, and like a year or two ago, we went to a place called Patagonia, which
Mhm.
is what they call it the end of the world
Yeah.
because it's right there at the bottom of Argentina,
Yeah.
which has got the cool mountain landscape. It's got all these beautiful creatures, a nice national park, and all. And it's just like shocking to see how awesome God's kind of not just here in the United States, but
Yeah.
all over the world. But
Yeah.
His creation is.
That's kind of a neat thing. Most people in this area that I've seen, especially people that are born and raised here, have never really left.
Yeah.
And like even Trevor right before you, like I don't think he until we took him on a mission trip outside of Kentucky, we went all the way to Utah and back
Mhm.
twice. And like I don't think that's as far as he's ever been from his home here in Northern
Mhm.
Kentucky ever, and that's not even leaving the US.
Right.
But so what's it like to especially when you were in high school, elementary school, because you went down to visit your family.
Mul
So
multiple times.
what was it like and how was it different relating to your peers knowing that you have more of a world traveler kind of feel and they all they know is this?
It makes you more intrigued of
Mhm.
what's outside the United States. It makes you wanna see, like, what other things can I see? What other architecture or landscapes are gonna be completely different than the ones here in the United
Yeah.
States? Which I think that's what kind of differs because some of them, they just go somewhere in the United States and they go to the same place over and over and over
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
but it's interesting because 'cause I've gone to different places, which have been God's blessed me with money to be able to go to these
Sure, yeah.
places.
You went down to,
I went to New
New Zealand.
Zealand.
Did you have family there?
I didn't well, my cousin from Argentina is on a work visa.
Ah,
So at the
okay.
time, back in 2023, she was still in New Zealand at the time in a city called Queenstown. Because I haven't seen her in a while at the time,
Yeah,
and I'm like, "You know what would be a good opportunity?" Right now, I'm not paying any bills and stuff like that, big bills.
yeah.
I'm like, "This is gonna be a good opportunity to go explore the world even further
Yep,
than just going to Argentina." Because 'cause I've only been to Argentina, mostly outside the country,
right.
besides Canada. But, I'm like, it'd be a cool opportunity to come see her, but also kinda do my own thing, explore a
Yeah,
different part of the world, and I gotta tell you, New Zealand's probably one of the beautiful places that I've seen
I've
and
heard that. I've not been there.
yeah.
But, of course, just about all of us that have, ever seen a movie, and has watched The Lord of the Rings,
Mhm.
we can all feel like we've been there a little bit because that's where they did almost all the
Yeah,
filming,
and
right?
then I did a little tours, a couple tours for New Zealand
Yeah.
for The Lord of the Rings.
So you gotta see the Hobbit holes?
Fortunately, no, that's one of my things that I would like to do is
You have
go
to go
back
back.
over there. Yeah, because that's all the way on the northern island to the far north, but
Right.
there were some film sites that we were able to get to see. We got to see where Isengard, which is
Mhm.
in the Lord of the Rings. We got to see where that location was filmed. We got to see where Lothlorien was filmed.
Okay.
We also got to see we're in The Hobbit, in the second movie where they're running from the orc and they get into the house where the man turns into a bear. We got to see where that film location was at.
Yeah.
So it was a cool experience.
The fellow that turned into his name was Bjorn.
Bjorn. Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the name.
I
Thanks, Sal.
can't. I know my essential Tolkien. So yes.
But no, it was a beautiful place. I got to do a bunch of extracurricular stuff. We got to go to a national park over there, Mount Cook, which was really the mountainside was awesome, and got to see glaciers and everything else. It made me want to be more adventurous. So that kind of I do enjoy traveling outside the states and going to see all these other different parts.
I like the phrase because I like going to the woods. We both like being in the woods. So we both like hunting and fishing and things like that. And I look for these places that I say that are far from the things of man. And that is what I dream of stepping on ground that has never been tread by another human being.
Okay.
And it's hard to find that in this world. It is. In Alaska, when I was up there, we found places that were similar, and I thought, hey, I'm here. I finally arrived. I'm in a place that probably, at least in 1,000 years, no human has set foot. And then I find this iron rod stuck in the ground in a survey state, like the 1940s when somebody was going through and surveying. I'm like, dang it.
Right.
Oh, well, is what it is. So tell me, so all the travel and all of the different experiences you've had, both as a locksmith and working your own ministry in this other church, how has that impacted and affected, along with your, I don't say mixed parentage, but your varied heritage? How does that all play in and has shaped your faith journey?
I mean, it's given me a bunch of different cultures.
Yeah.
Because it's very Catholic down in Argentina.
You're talking to a person who used to be Catholic, used to be Episcopalian. I was baptized Catholic. I started going through confirmation, and then my parents switched over to Episcopalian, finished my confirmation, and was rebaptized into the Episcopal faith. So I understand the draw the liturgical church has. My struggle with them is the level of connection to what I consider biblical Christianity. I think they've in some ways departed a little bit from it.
Right.
But what I've always found is I look for those areas that unite us, not divide us. And there is a lot within the Catholic faith that we draw from because we're Protestant reformers. We're protesting the abuses of the Catholic Church. That's where the Protestants came from. So, many of our traditions obviously were based on loosely on the Catholic tradition. So it's kind of cool. I like that. That's kind of neat. So we're going to talk a little bit more about some of like your future things. You're now a locksmith. I don't know if you plan on being that forever, but obviously God is calling you to something. What do you think in this season of your life that God is calling you to?
I think he's calling me to use his Pins archery program to reach more kids. And I think he's also calling me to go on a few more mission trips. Right now, I think that's where God's calling me right now.
So do you mind if I ask you how old you are?
I'm 25.
25. Look at that. 25. I like that. I like that. Quarter of a century. So how's it feel? You're almost old.
Thanks, Al.
I said almost. So how's it feel?
Starting to feel the aches and pains a little bit.
Yeah,
but
it gets worse.
Oh.
It gets a lot worse. It really does. So I've doubled your age. So that's, yeah. Anyway, you're in this interesting phase of life and you're part of our college and career ministry, but you're also single. And this is in this day and age, we were talking off camera that I wouldn't want to be your age and single in this universe right now. It seems like the culture for your age group, there's so much pressure, there's so much problems, and then added to that, all the other complexities that are found within our culture, from the Me Too movement and the cancel culture and everything that we're in or coming out of, or however you want to describe it. What's it like to be single and dating in the world today?
It's hard because there's a lot of
and being a Christian.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother complexity above that. Yeah. So good.
It's really hard because sometimes people have their own thoughts. I could do this myself. A lot of people want to be independent.
Yes, and I get that. I do too.
I love being independent,
And
but
I have a
it's
daughter. I want her independent.
mhm,
I want her strong. I want
mhm.
her to be able to take care of herself.
I like to be. I've enjoyed the singleness, but it's coming to a point where my friends are all getting married
That must be
and
hard.
dating, and it's like, okay, now it makes me think about a lot about
Next step.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, we're okay, God, where's she at?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really kind of at the time I really put that in the forefront, but lately I've kind of just let said, God, I know you know what I wanted, my desire to be married. I don't know when that's gonna happen, what time that's gonna happen, where it's gonna happen, but I'm gonna just trust in you, and whenever it comes, and
Yeah.
I just put it all to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that must be hard. And I know when I was your age that I always knew I wanted to be married. I always knew I wanted to have kids. And so that was always in the back of my mind. And it wasn't coming as quickly as I wanted. I was
Yeah.
25 when I got married. And that was something that was always there in the back of my
Mhm.
mind. But for you, when you're thinking about this, um, it must be difficult. And talk to me about what it's like, your journey
Mhm.
in that world.
Yeah.
Where did you go? How did you you always tell people, like, back in the day back in the day, in the '80s, there was a saying that we used to say when I first got saved, first started going to a Baptist church. The older ladies would always warn us younger boys. They would say, "Don't smoke or chew or go with girls that do."
Mm.
Okay, that was their phrase that they
Okay.
said, and so, like, stay away from those, and that was kind of a weird sort of play on some of the things that came from the book of Proverbs. So I'm not saying that, you obviously don't wanna go to you don't want any bars, and,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you're a good Christian boy, you want a good
Yep.
Christian young woman.
Yep.
How do you do that? What did you do?
Well, when I was at my other church, I didn't really have a community to wrap around, which was probably one of the main reasons why I left. I needed a community that I can kind of grow
Like,
with.
your age, that's going
Yeah,
through the
and
same
the
struggle
same
you are.
age as myself,
Right.
which was kind of hard in my old church because it's either high schoolers or
Older.
family, or they
Yeah.
already have families and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So it's like coming to Christ Baptist, there's that mixture of
Mm,
a lot of people my age,
right.
which now I can thank God for all the relationships that I have right now
Yeah.
and all the growth that I have
This is
made.
where you met your best friend, Trevor.
Yes, it's where I met my best friend Trevor,
And it's been a
and
beautiful
it has been
romance.
great. It's been great. So, but no, it's God's blessed me with this, and I thank Him every day for what I have here.
Yeah. I have 2 sons that are unmarried, and they're about the same age as you, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot is, how to give them advice in navigating this world. Obviously, prayer, that's the first and foremost, and I say the same thing to my boys, but what advice would you give to someone that may be watching this that is single, going through what you're going through, but knows they wanna get married, knows that God's calling them to maybe have a family, but there's nobody on the
Yeah,
horizon, no prospects, and they don't really know where to look.
yeah.
What advice would you give them?
I tell you not to lose faith. There were certain points in my life at the time where I was saying, "Okay, God, what's going on?" I put more trust in God and the faith that I have with Him, and that knowing that He's going to lead me in the right direction, and that it's going to be ups and downs, but God's plan for you is going to be greater than what's happening right now.
That's
So I'd
awesome.
say you just trust God, and you pray about it, and if you gotta move around a small group or something like that to
Yeah.
kinda help you find that community, I would 100% do it because that's what I did before I started coming to here.
You've looked for a community. Yeah.
I did.
And, yeah, obviously, you can go there's a lot of communities you can join,
Mhm.
and you have a lot of skills.
Yeah.
You could have joined a variety of different communities, some of them godly, some of them not.
Mhm.
So it's really kinda interesting to see the journey. Um, Looking back at yourself 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago before you
Mhm.
really started coming to Christ Baptist, what would you if you could go back to that person, like, what would you say to that version of yourself about trusting God's plan?
I'd tell him, I know it's hard right now. You're kind of you're by yourself all the time. You're not really looking for anything, but I would recommend to him that you need to just double down on your faith, pray to God about it, and join a small group.
Small group, life
C
groups,
Yeah,
yes.
so, for example, I would tell them there's gonna be a group of people that you're gonna meet at this small group,
Mhm.
and you're gonna have relationships with them that you never thought you could ever have with anybody else.
Yeah.
And it's been really great and tell them that it's gonna be really great, and it's gonna be awesome to have these relationships.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah, small group definitely is something that we always encourage our folks to do. So 2 years from now, 3 years from now, where do you see yourself?
I think I see myself finally being able to buy a house,
Hey, there you go.
hopefully to be married at that point, or just in general having a girlfriend at that point.
And moving in that direction.
And
Yeah.
moving in that direction. But I feel like I can do a lot more worshiping,
Hmm.
music, whatever, maybe helping with the youth.
Yeah.
Kind of doing something with kids a little bit
Yeah.
more than I
Yeah.
am now.
Do you feel like God's calling you to work more with kids? I mean, you actually have done a children's sermon, haven't you?
I did, and it
Yeah.
was very good children's sermon with Legos. The kids really
Yep.
loved that part.
Yep. They still talk about it, you know.
hmm No, I feel like that's where he's calling me because I do a really good job with kids. I
Yeah.
enjoy being able to build connections with them,
Mm.
teach them, but also have fun with them at the same
Right.
time.
That's cool. That is so neat. So, I know we're coming to the end of our discussion, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a little. I mean, we are talking about passions, right?
hmm
And that's one thing I love about a format like this. We can talk about anything, really. I know the focus of the podcast is based around the branding, and we've titled it "Grace, Grit, and Grounds,"
hmm
and the tagline is "Grounded Theology for Life." But I also grounds also has to do with coffee because
Yeah.
I love coffee. And so when I say the words grace or grit or grounds, but what stands out to you? What comes to your mind?
Well, the ground part of it, because now I'm grounded with people that I have relationships with that
Mhm.
I can continue to build upon in the church that I'm at, which is really encouraging me more to like lead in worship and being able to do that on Sundays and Thursdays, which has
Yeah,
been a great experience.
I bet.
Is now it feels good to praise God, just give Him all the glory for everything He's done in my
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
Because I was in a spot in my life at the time where it's like, okay, I'm stuck.
mm,
I'm not growing, and I need somewhere to continue growing with Him. So it's going to this small group really started it off, and being able to join the group of people, and then coming here and being able to come on Sundays
enjoy the
and
fellowship.
enjoy the fellowship with the rest of the people that are here.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So another thing about this is passions. Like I love to do woodworking. In fact, let me just show you this right here. So this is one of my first. Not the Reds, although I like the Reds.
Go
So
Reds!
so this was one of my first ever creations that I made, in out of wood,
Mm,
and I found a piece of old, driftwood in Alaska. I don't really know what this is, and I just said, I'm gonna redeem
looks
this
like a
wood."
goblet.
Oh, it was,
Okay.
but it was driftwood.
Okay.
And so I made this and it just made a little, I don't know, cup. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I love to do things like this and I have a lot of wood that I have turned over the years and I intend to do some podcast about turning and barbecuing and things that I like to do, right? But you have passions too. What is the one thing you really enjoy doing? Like your hobbies when you're not out singing at church, you're
Mm,
not, hanging with your small group, you're not working,
yeah,
and you're not hunting, because I know
yeah,
it's a hobby.
yeah.
What is the one thing you really like doing?
I like the quality time
Yeah.
that is what I really enjoy doing because I don't like being by myself.
Well, as a twin, you were never by yourself.
Yes, so when he went to go work overseas, it kinda changed my whole dynamic.
Yeah.
So it was really hard. It's like, okay, so how can I replace this quality time with people? Which is where Trevor came in
Yeah.
and his wife Morgan. They've been really great to
Yeah.
me, and they kind of filled that void that he
Yeah.
left when he
Yeah.
went to work
I mean, you
overseas.
can't replace a brother,
Mm-mm.
but it's nice that you can have a friend that is close like a brother.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a neat thing. It's all right. So I guess as we're coming to the end of it, and the coffee is almost gone, and it's getting cool.
Mm.
I'm not an iced coffee fan. I'm
No.
old school like that.
Mhm.
Just give me regular. I mean, I do put cream. I do put a little bit of sugar. Well, I usually use the stevia,
Mhm.
but I do like sugary things in there. You like honey in your
I do like
coffee.
honey.
Yeah.
This is a new aspect lately.
I know here's something about me is I don't believe you should ever microwave coffee.
No, no, because
No.
it doesn't taste very good.
It doesn't. Like, when you radiate coffee, like, I don't want that.
No.
And, like, everything about coffee is supposed to be that fresh brewed, like, all those antioxidants, everything that's in there, like, and I even go a step further. I'm kind of a coffee snob.
Mhm.
So, like, my preferred way of having coffee when it's not an espresso is fresh ground, from medium roast. I don't like the dark roast because they burn it.
Yeah.
And you don't know how long they burn it because it lasts longer. So I like a medium roast, and so I pick my roast very, very carefully,
Mhm.
and I grind it, as I need it. And I seal it, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm very picky
Yeah.
about it.
Almost as picky as your steak, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I was thinking about this the other day, and going back to like phones and choices and things that we have in our life. I would just take peanut butter, for example.
Mm.
Living overseas, the one thing we didn't have was peanut butter. For whatever reason, peanut butter is just not a thing in Europe. And you can get it, but it's very small and incredibly expensive.
Ooh.
And it doesn't taste very good. Because just they don't make it like we make it. And I am kind of picky.
Mhm.
I prefer Jif peanut butter,
Mm.
right?
It's a good brand.
It is. And everyone that I've ever talked to that likes a different brands that we shall not name. Not that Jif is sponsoring this in any way. I get no money back from the Jif, whoever owns the Jif Corporation, right? But everyone will say to you, it tastes like Jif. It's just like Jif. And if you want to eat something that's just like something else,
Mhm.
then eat that something else.
Right.
Right? Don't go for generic that tastes somewhat like
Like it.
get what you like,
Right. Right.
and just go with the good stuff.
Yeah. I
Because
100% agree with that one.
yeah, I mean, like, so for me, I have an iPhone. Again, they're no sponsor. I don't get any money from the iPhone peoples. But everybody always would compare it. They would say, "Well, go for Samsung because it's just like."
Yeah.
Well, if it's just like, and you're having to compare it, just give me the real thing.
Right. Right.
Give me the real
100%
thing.
agree with that one.
So anyway, I'm definitely into the real thing. So coffee's a big deal for me, and I know we'll probably have other conversations as we go forward.
We just want to say thanks for everybody watching the podcast. And Al, I want to thank you for inviting me on your show.
Appreciate it. And we want to encourage people to like and share.
Yeah.
We want people to subscribe because we do these espresso shots sort of in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
They're longer form interviews and gives people a chance to get to know, I want to say regular people, but just people.
Yeah, just people in
hear your
general.
stories because every story matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
There is.
Everybody has a story.
You're right. And here's the neat thing. I love C.S. Lewis. You know that. And Lewis often would say that there are no ordinary people.
Right.
There are no ordinary people. We are all made in the image of the living God, and that makes us all unique, special, and fantastic. And I love that.
Because
So,
everybody has a different story.
yeah,
And you don't know what you're going to get into.
you never know. It's like life is like a box of
chocolate.
We're not going there.
No, we're not.
Hey, I appreciate you guys tuning in for this. Again, like we said before, if you want to be a part of the conversation, feel free to drop a comment into the comment section. We'd love to be able to hear from you and hear your thoughts on this. And we encourage you to like the channel, subscribe, hit the little bell thing so you can get notified whenever we have a new episode. We try to put out one every Thursday, and then the espresso shots get out when they get out.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's usually when I can get somebody in here to be able to get it, done and edited and get out because I don't have a staff. It's just me doing all the work.
One-man army.
A one-man show. Yeah. Okay. So, but I appreciate you guys tuning in. And until next time, I encourage you to keep the coffee hot, the faith real, and keep the conversation flowing. Until next time.